Today, we're going to talk about Boros. But not equipment Boros. Alright everybody, today we're going over Boros, not equipment, but Boros spirits. That's right, we're going to be breaking down Hofri Ghostforge. He is one of my favorite commanders that I've built. I'll never take him apart. I'll just keep updating him and putting weird random jank cards into it. Moderator hates playing against this, but she still lets us play it at home, so that's good. Make sure you leave a comment down below. If you have any commanders you want to see us take a shot at and build, make sure you let us know. We'll take a shot at anything, and maybe we can make something a little bit different happen there. I hope you enjoy this. Let's get into it, and let's break down this deck.
All right, so here we go. We're on architect.com. We like to use this. We were actually introduced to this through one of our commander leagues that we play in. We use this to check our decks and everything. Sometimes we do like fun little challenges where you can't have a deck that's worth more than $100 or whatever the case may be. And we use this as our checking for that. But as you can see here, estimated deck cost is $656. The salt score, it's pretty close to that peak. Pretty close to that peak, but you know, that's all right. So if I scroll down here, let's jump on into it. Of course, we got to start with the main dwarf himself, Hofri Ghostforge. All right, here he is. Spirit you control, get +1/+1 and have trample and haste. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. It has, when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to your graveyard. Boom, right there, super powerful. We're going to make sure to build in some LTBs, some ETBs, and generate some great value off of all of our creatures coming in here. Now, some of those creatures are already spirits, so they're going to automatically get that buff and get that +1/+1, have trample and haste right when they hit the board. Other ones are not going to be spirits, but we're going to get some really powerful effects off of them. The other good thing about this is, let's say you have a bunch of token spirit cards out there on the board, and someone says, I'm going to Bojuka Bog your graveyard. I don't care, because when this dies, it goes back into my graveyard, and we're going to have some things to get stuff out of our graveyard in here as well. So now that we're done with that, let's break down the artifacts. All right, so here we go in the artifacts. First one we're going to do is Altar of Dementia. Of course, we're going to have a sack outlet. I don't want to wait for my opponents to kill my things because they're going to learn to not kill my things. So I'm going to kill my things for me. This just gives us the opportunity to mill. If you want to put cards into your graveyard because you build this a little bit different than I do, then this works perfect. But most of the time, I just try and get a loop going where I create tokens, I sacrifice it, and I make somebody almost mill out their deck, and then they get really angry. That's pretty much what I use this for. Of course, Arcane Signet. Then we have Ashenod's Altar, another sack outlet that we get to create 2 colorless mana from. So that's good if we want to cast something bigger. We also have Phyrexian Altar. Add 1 mana of any color. We're playing red-white, so we're only going to create red-whites, basically. You can create blue, black, and green if you want to, but, you know, that's just you being you. I always just create red-white. We have Soul Ring, of course. Then Staff of the Storyteller. Staff of the Storyteller, when it enters, creates a 1/1 white spirit creature token. So if Hofri's out, I'm getting a 2/2 Flying Trample Haste. So that's not bad. Plus, I'm going to get a counter on it right when it comes out. So if I have a spare white mana, I can tap this and draw a card. So for 3 mana, I create a 2/2 Flying Trample Haste Spirit, and I can tap this and draw a card right away. Yeah, that's pretty decent to me. I've been having some good luck with this in the deck. Obviously, Hofri creates a lot of tokens of our creatures, so we can stack a lot of these storyteller or story counters on here, and we can draw some extra cards if we want to. We have the Talisman of Conviction, and then we have another sack outlet. This one, you only get to tap and sacrifice 1 creature at a time. However, you get to add 3 mana in any combination of colors. It's also got a built-in safety valve. If you would lose the game, instead exile the Golden Throne. your life total becomes 1. So you have a little bit of a safety valve. If this is out there, you're about to die, you just exile that and say, yeah, I'm safe until my next turn. Hopefully you make it to your next turn. Hopefully everyone sees that the other threat is on the other side of the board. But it's in there for that. Those are the artifacts. They're pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, let's jump into those creatures. All right, so we have AO, the Dawn Sky, and I absolutely love AO, the Dawn Sky, and this artwork. I am really looking to get a foil one of these. I just can't find a deal that I want to get on it anywhere. But AO, the Dawn Sky, is a legendary creature, Dragon Spirit, flying and vigilance. So if we notice that keyword there, Spirit, he's going to come out, he's going to have haste and trample right away, and +1/+1. So for 5, you're going to get a 6/5 vigilant dragon that, when he dies, look at the top 7 cards of your library, put any number of non-land permanent cards with a total mana value of 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order, or put 2 +1/+1 counters on each permanent you control. That's a creature or a vehicle. Pretty strong. And we want to kill things in here. So you cast him, you hit him, you sack him, he comes back, and you get 4 mana's worth of non-land permanents onto the battlefield for free. Seems pretty good. Balefire Liege is in here just because we're red-white. Just kind of something I threw in there. They get +1/+1 if they're red. They get +1/+1 if they're white. Little fact not known to people, if they have both colors, they get +2/+2. So Hofri would be a +2/+2 because he's red and white. So if you didn't know, now you do. Whenever you play a red spell, he deals 3 damage to target player. Whenever I play a white spell, I gain 3 life. Well, we're going to go through the stats, and you're going to see that we'll be able to gain a lot more life than we will do damage. All right, then we have Brutal Cathar, who has just been an all-star. When he enters the battlefield or transforms, exile target creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield. All I'm doing with him is coming out, and I'm going to exile something big. I'm going to get rid of a Blightsteel Colossus. I'm going to get rid of your commander. I'm going to get rid of whatever I can to make sure that you can't do any damage to my board. We have Guardian Scalelord, another new card that's in here. He has backup. He's just a dragon. Who doesn't want to play with a dragon in almost every deck? Whenever this creature attacks, return target non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is this creature's power. So, being honest, backup here is pretty good because they gain this ability until end of turn. So although he's not a spirit, he will not be able to attack right away. A lot of the things I want to bring back are under that 3 mana cost there. So I can put this on him and have extra recursion levels, or I can put it on something else that's going to swing, and they're going to have that same ability that turn. So backup is pretty cool and pretty strong. He's been doing pretty good in the deck, and this will bring back a non-land permanent. So you're talking artifacts, creatures, enchantments, whatever. So pretty decent. And here we go. Here's where we start getting a little bit crazy with things. Imperial Recruiter. You find a creature card with power 2 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Cool. I'm going to do that once, and then I'm going to sack him, and I'm going to do it again. And then I'm going to get Guardian Scalelord out, and I'm going to recur him from my graveyard and find 2 more. It's just, that's how crazy this deck can be. Jaxus the Troublemaker. A card that a lot of people, I think, pass up because it's a box topper. I think a lot of people look at box toppers, especially the Gala Greeters and stuff like that. This was a buy a box promo, not a box topper. I apologize. However, This card is great in here because it has a blitz cost. So if Hofri is out, I blitz out Jaxus. I can swing with it right away because it gains haste. And when it dies, I create a token copy of it. I also get a card draw off of it. When the token comes back, it already has haste. So if I want to, I can actually take Jaxus, pay 1, discard a card, create a copy of Imperial Recruiter, and go find another one. Or I can go create a copy of AO, the Dawn Sky. It's a legendary rule. It'll die right away. I get a card draw because that's what Jaxus says. If we come here and we read this, create a token copy. That's a copy of another target creature. You control it, gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. So I can turn around and I can create a copy of AO, dig through the top 7, put some free stuff on the board. Hopefully it's an Imperial Recruiter or a Recruiter of the Guard, which we'll see later on in here. And I can go find more stuff to put into my hand to cast on my next turn. And then we can continue to make copies of those things to continue searching our deck. We can continue making copies of AO to get that LTB trigger and continue to gain that value off of that. So there's so many things you can do with this, and all the meanwhile, those copies, as they're dying, are drawing us cards. So there's a lot of power in that. Catilda Dawnheart Martyr, flying lifelink, protection from vampires. Well, you know, as irrelevant as I would think that is, it's actually pretty relevant in my play circles. So it's interesting that a card that I put in here just because her power and toughness is equal to the number of spirits and enchantments that I control. Well, she's a spirit, and I'm hoping to make spirits out of everything else as well. We have Layla the Blade Reforged. She already has haste, but she's a spirit warrior, so she kind of fits into that theme. She also says when she attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So we're going to get a little bit of card advantage there. And whenever you exile 1 or more cards from your library and or your graveyard, put a +1/+1 on Layla. So whenever a non-token creature dies, if she's out on the board, it goes to your graveyard and then it gets exiled. +1/+1 counter. Whenever she attacks, exile the top card of your library. She gets a +1/+1 counter. Right there, we got a 4/4. And remember, our spirits have trample. So every time something else is dying with her on the board, it's getting exiled from our graveyard. We're getting a +1/+1 counter with her. And she can get big real quick. We always play as some Lauren of the Third Path when we get the opportunity to in white because we want to destroy other people's stuff. Artifacts and enchantments. You come in, somebody's got some crazy enchantments. You know what? You want to be that person who kills the $200 mana crypt on the board? Play Lauren, kill the mana crypt, sack her, then kill their Black Lotus. Whatever it is. We have Might Overseer because he gives our tokens +1/+0 and first strike as long as it's our turn. He can also create colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature tokens with Toxic 1. I just ignore that. I've done that once. I more abuse him as the first strike, a little bit of protection just in case I don't have any of those recursion options in my hand yet, and I don't want my tokens to quite die, and I don't have the affordability to kind of manipulate everything like I want to. That first strike gives them a little bit of protection so that way we kill them first and they don't kill us. And of course we got the biggin, Mondrot Glory Dominus. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created instead. So, of course, I mean, you're probably thinking, well, he's definitely got Anointed Procession in here. I don't. Moderator gets Anointed Procession. I don't get that. However, this is just as good. Becomes indestructible if I need it to. I can also sack it, have it come back as a spirit, then make it indestructible. So lots of different things can happen with this. Then we have Myrel, Shield of Argive. Really, it's the Grand Abolisher effect right here that I like. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. It also doubles that she is a uber powerful card. If you had not had a chance to play with her or play against her, hoo-wee, she is a powerhouse. We got Nico Ona. Again, we're just looking to destroy some enchantments, and we can bring her back to our hand whenever we play a Spirit or Arcane, and I can recast her and do it a few more times. We have Ortheon, Hero of Lava Brink. I call him the poor man's Kiki Jiki, except for it doesn't matter if they're legendary or not, so I can choose to continue to do what I was doing with Jaxus, but this time not discarding cards, only paying 2, tapping it, and creating a token. Now, you can't get crazy with it. You can pay 9 and create 5 tokens. And they say sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So that means that you have that opportunity to create them before combat, swing in at combat, move to second main phase, and use your sack outlets to generate mana off of them, to generate milling, whatever the case may be, out of all of those different sack outlets that we had there. We also have another one that'll be coming up that you can actually generate life from them. We have Phyrexian Traniform here. This is because he's a big old boy, and he's colorless, and when he dies, I get 9 power back. And I can encore him once he gets back into the graveyard, but initially, once he dies, he's going to come back. So I'm going to get 9 power on board, plus he's going to come back. So I'm going to get another 9 power. That's 18 power. And that's pretty good when you have a 9/9 trample and haste spirit. I would say so, at least. We have Phyrexian Vindicator. This is kind of one of those cards that I put in here just as like a, hey, I'm just going to block with this dude, and you're going to have to deal with him twice. So, do you really, really, really want to attack me with your stuff? I have Quintorius Lore Master. I can exile target non-creature, non-land card from my graveyard to create a 3/2 red spirit. So again, if Hofri's out, that's a 4/3. We're buffing our stuff. And then we can sacrifice a spirit. So just as sacrifice a spirit, if we don't need one of our other creatures that's not a spirit anymore, we can sack that, and we can pay 1 a red and a white and choose target card exiled with Quintorius. You may cast that card this turn without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put in the graveyard, put it on the bottom of its owner's library instead. That's good for us. To be able to sacrifice any spirit we want and then turn around and cast something for free, we have some decent spells in here that we can cast that we can just keep recasting because we're going to put it on the bottom, and there's probably a way to go search it out. That's a pretty good card for this deck. I was excited to see this come out in March of the Machine. I know a lot of people weren't. We have Recruiter of the Guard. Find something with toughness 2 or less. Same as Imperial Recruiter. However, it's toughness instead of power. And you can activate this. I've activated Recruiter of the Guard upwards of 6 times in a game. Just because people don't know how to get rid of it. Or they get rid of it and I bring it back somehow. These little 3-drop tutors can be really, really, really powerful, considering what they can do inside this deck. Remorseful Cleric. Playing a graveyard strategy. I always build some graveyard hate into my decks because I don't want anybody else doing the same stuff I'm doing. Runetail Kitsune Ascendant. If you have 30 or more life, flip Runetail. And then if you flip them, prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control. So now we're really turning it into our game. We aren't turning it into a game. We're turning it into our game. If we get this out early, turn 3, it flips automatically. Now, unless they get rid of it, our creatures don't take damage. not combat damage, all damage. You can't lightning bolt them. You can't do anything. So we're building in protection, and we're changing this into, you're going to watch me recur Boros spirits all night long. And if they do get rid of it, it goes to the graveyard as a creature and comes back as a spirit and flips again if you have 30 or more life. I don't know if you're catching the drift here yet, but we like to bring stuff back. We also have Selfless Spirit. Of course, we're going to have Selfless Spirit in a Spirit deck. Gain Indestructible until end of turn. You can use them 2, 3, 4 times in here. Skrelv Defector Might. Can't block, but built-in protection, so that way we can protect our big things. You know, people play a lot of interaction. People play a lot of different things. So we always want to make sure that we have some protection built. Skyclave Apparition. Exile something with 4 or less mana cost. They get a blue-blue illusion, but the trade-off is kind of good there because really and truthfully, you're going to be able to nail a lot of commanders with this because people are trying to build faster commanders. So you can bring this out. Again, it's got Trample and Haste and a +1/+1, and you get to exile the engine to their deck. Solitude is crazy in here. So you evoke Solitude out. It dies right away. You get to exile something. It comes back. And this time it's a spirit elemental incarnation. So it's got a lot of upside in here. Solitude has already got a lot of upside, but this has got a ton of upside in here because I get to exile 2 things for 1 card as it enters the battlefield. Because it will come back automatically as it goes to the graveyard from it being evoked. So, super nice. Triplicate Titan, same thing as that Phyrexian Traniform. We're going to get 9 power on the board for 9 mana. Because we're going to sack it right away, and then we're going to get another 9. So we're going to have 18 for 9. Flying Vigilance Trample, it will become a spirit. So it's going to gain haste, and you can just swing away. We have a lot of creatures in here with power 2 or less, and we want to be able to draw some cards so everyone knows what Welcoming Vampire does. So this is for our card draw aspect, and later on, if we need some cannon fodder into a sack outlet, Welcoming Vampire, we're sorry, but you're the first one to go. We also have Wormcoil Engine. Same thing as the other big artifacts in there. We're going to get the Wormcoil Engine out. We're going to sack it. We're going to create our 2 other worms. And then we're going to have a Phyrexian Worm Spirit. All right. Those are all the creatures. Seems pretty gnarly to me. Let's jump into the enchantments. All right, so here we go. Earlier, I said we might have a way to gain life. Well, this is one of our random janky outlets that we have, a sack outlet, which is Enchant Land. And we can tap our land to sacrifice a creature and gain life equal to its toughness. So if they want to get rid of all of our artifacts, awesome. We have an enchantment that does it. We have this one here, Enchant Mountain you control. When Chained to the Rocks enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Chained to the Rocks leaves the battlefield. So unless you're playing a specific deck that really has some enchantment hate, you're going to pretty much get to exile something for quite some time with that. Maybe not forever, but quite some time. Maybe give the whole table a little bit of relief. Goblin Bombardment, another enchantment. But this time, we're going to ping you every time we sack something. Ping, ping, ping. And that damage is going to add right up. Sneak Attack. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Perfect. I'm going to pay 1 for all my big stuff. Give it haste. It's going to die at the end step. And it's going to come back as a spirit. Pretty awesome. Warstorm Surge. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. This is really just that way. If someone's building a big wall, someone's playing shoot swarm and they got 2 billion bugs, but they can't swing yet. Well, you can't really swing into that, right? Because you're just going to lose all your stuff because they're going to stack 100,000 bugs in front of each of your creatures. So we play some Warstorm Surge, and we just keep sacking and recurring things, and as they enter the battlefield, we're just pinging that person until they hit that big old goose egg. So here we are with our instance. Argivian Find. 1 white mana, return target artifact or enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. This brings back our Ashenod's Altar, our Altar of Dementia, our Phyrexian Altar, our Golden Throne, our Goblin Bombardment, our Animal Boneyard, all those different things that we use to sack our creatures. And it's just a quick little, I'm going to bring this back, right? Someone's coming out and I'm going to play a Bajuka Bog and I'm going to target your graveyard. Well, hang on. I'm going to cast Argivian Find and I'm going to return this Phyrexian Altar back to my hand. Just a little bit of, safe. Bolt Bend. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, well, that's Hofri, so hopefully we control our commander through all of this. Change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. It's deflecting SWAT, but it costs 1 and it's cheap. It's $1.79 or $1.42 comparatively to $55 or $45, however much deflecting SWAT is nowadays. Boros Charm, always great. Always great to, give all your stuff indestructible or gain target creature gains double strike until end of turn. It could be a finisher. If you got a couple big dragons, somebody's down low, give it double strike, finish them off. You swing out. Somehow they figure out how to block everything, and you play this and make sure that they get indestructible. Chaos Warp, red removal. I have seen a lot of people say, well, can't we do better than Chaos Warp? It does just fine most of the time. They get a land. It is what it is. Contraband Livestock is one of those cards where we kind of go, why is this in here? And to be honest, it's because I like exiling things. As much as I play from my graveyard, I don't like it when other people play from their graveyard. So I try to do my best to make sure that you can't bring this back from your graveyard. And I'm willing to give you a 4/4 Ox, a 2/2 Boar, or a 0/1 Goat. And it is awesome when you get to give somebody a goat. Of course, we have Enlightened Tutor. You can find an artifact or enchantment. Get a few turns in. You don't get one of your sack outlets. Let's go grab one. Let's get this game done with. Fateful Absence. Decent little removal spell here for a creature or planeswalker. Yeah, you give them a clue, but hey, whatever. Generous Gift. This is just destruction to anything, which is always nice. Enchantments are very powerful in Magic the Gathering, and again, a lot of people have a hard time getting rid of them, but something like Generous Gift will do it for you. March of the Otherworldly Light. I can exile white cards from my hand, and if you've been paying attention in this, a lot of this deck is white, and you'll see that in the stats later on. There's red in it, but there's not a whole lot of red. Most of it is white. And we're going to exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value X or less. So, it is pretty nice. Pretty good little removal instant right there. Of course, we have Path to Exile, and we have Rebuff the Wicked. So, we also have Swords to Plowshares and Teferi's Protection. And then we have Wear and Tear, so we can destroy artifacts and enchantments. We have Wild Magic Surge, which destroys a permanent, and then they reveal cards from the top of their library until they reveal a permanent that shares a card type with that. I like it. It can be a gamble, but it's Chaos Warp, but similar item. So if you're playing somebody and they don't play a lot of artifacts and you destroy their artifact, they might not have one. Enchantments, creatures, whatever the case may be. So you can even hit a land with this if you need to. We're also going to, at one point in time, get a pretty decent-sized board. We want to make sure Hofri's out, play a Chroma's Will. You get Flying, Vigilance, Double Strike, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Protection from all colors until end of turn. Now, if you're playing an artifact deck, Chroma's Will isn't going to really do much for you because there's a lot of colorless stuff in there. However, most decks have colors in them. Well, not most decks, but a lot of decks have those other colors in there, and that's really a situational thing. Maybe you just don't swing at the artifact deck guy. All right, and looks like we have up next some lands, so let's jump into that. All right, we're here at the lands. We are not going to spend a lot of time in this. I play with a lot of these Kaldheim tapped lands just because you can fetch them up. I like them. I think they look good. Battlefield Forge, Clifftop Retreat, Command Tower, Inganjo, Fury Calm Snarl, Basic Mountains, Needle Verge Pathway, which can also be Pillar Verge Pathway, Plains. We have Sacred Foundry for our Shock land. Again, we have Sacred Peaks. We can fetch it up. Sozenkon, Crucible of Defiance, Spectator Seating, Sundown Pass, and that's pretty much the mana base. There's not a lot to go over because it's red-white. Again, with mana bases, we kind of talked this through with Geth. It's kind of up to you. Some people like playing with basics. Some people don't like the tap lands. We kind of do a mix of all of it here, and it makes it a little bit more fun. Could I make a better mana base? Absolutely. But I'm looking at more of a casual range, not looking to turn this into CEDH anytime. So I'm perfectly happy with this mana base. I could throw a fetch land in there, but it is what it is. So let's move on to sorceries. All right, so with sorceries, we have Ascend from Avernus, X, and 3 white. Return all creatures and planeswalker cards with mana value extra less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile Ascend from Avernus. So this can work in a couple different ways. Obviously, it can be a mana sink later on in the game and bring back all your stuff. Or you can have all your stuff out on board, want to dig through your deck some more, and start sacking everything to Ashnod's Altar or Phyrexian Altar to create that mana to put into this. So there's a couple ways you could do it. It's a ton of fun when you have all your creatures on board, you start sacking everything, and people are like, what is happening here? And then you sink a bunch of that mana and 3 of your planes into that, and then you bring it all back and you do it all again. Again, that's where you can work with the Altar of Dementia as well and start milling people out. So it's a lot of fun. It's a good card in here. Council's Judgment is just another one of those weird cards that I like to use to make everybody hate each other. Starting with you, each player votes for a non-land permanent you don't control. Exile each permanent with the most votes or tied for the most votes. So it's a nice little political card. Hey, I want to get rid of that. What do you want to get rid of? You want to get rid of that? Okay. And you want to get rid of that? Awesome. Well, here, Council's Judgment. Everyone gets rid of all their stuff, and we all just vote for it for one different thing, and boom, all those things are gone. So it's a fun little political card there. Dismantling Wave. I do have a lot of people. Obviously, you build decks compared to what you play with. So if you're playing a lot of CEDH people, you're going to build your deck up to that. If you play a lot of dragon people, you want to turn around and have something that can beat dragons easily. I play a lot of people that play a lot of artifacts, so this is actually pretty good. I play a lot of people that like to play Boros equipment or play whatever equipment. So I like to be able to just destroy all their equipment in one foul swoop. We have Reckless Handling. Aftermath card. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle, then discard a card at random. If an artifact card was discarded this way, Reckless Handling deals 2 damage to each opponent. Cool. I'm going to find one of my sack outlets. That's an artifact. I'm going to maybe get rid of it. I'm going to deal 2 damage to each opponent if I do. But I also have so many ways to bring them back that it's okay. I'm willing to take that. We have Recommission. Again, right after Reckless Handling, return target artifact or creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If a creature enters the battlefield this way, it enters with an additional +1/+1 on it. Okay, well, Phyrexian Altar, 3. Altar of Dementia, 3. Ashnod's Altar, 3. Golden Throne, I believe, 3, maybe 4. We have Imperial Recruiter, Recruiter of the Guard, Solitude, so many different things that this little common can just go bloop right back on to that battlefield. We have Rip Apart because it's flavorful. It's Boros. It's enjoyable. Deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. So an expensive lightning bolt or take care of an artifact or enchantment. I have single combat where everyone chooses a creature or a planeswalker, then sacrifice the rest. Players can't cast creature or planeswalker spells until the end of your next turn. This is super. This is where I get people to scoop playing this deck. I have my board. I haven't sacked anything. I play single combat. I name Hofri. They all name whatever creature they want. They lose everything else, and then all of my stuff comes back. And they can't cast anything until the end of my next turn. People have a tendency to scoop when that happens. And, of course, we have Storm of Souls. Again, another one of those cards where I'm just kind of like, ooh, fits well with my boy Hofri. Return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Each of them is a 1/1 spirit with flying in addition to its other types. Exile Storm of Souls. Okay. Again, this leads back into everything that we were talking about before. Wrath of God, of course, it's a board wipe. And then it looks like we're here into the token. Do you need a boar, a clue, a copy, a goat, a golem, an illusion, an ox, Phyrexian golem, Phyrexian might, soldier, spirit, worm, and that's it. That's the whole deck. If you want to take this deck and take it for a run, you can. I will share this link to my Architect page here in the link down below. So that way you can pull it up and take a look at it. If you build something with it, let me know how it goes, because I'm always excited to see how it goes when people, different play groups, how it happens. But let's look at some stats real quick. So remember earlier I was telling you Balefire Liege is going to gain us a lot more life than it is going to do damage. We can look here and we can see the outer is the mana cost. So we have 61 white pips and we have 20 red pips. And we are basically 50-50 on what we produce, right? I'm happy with that split. I don't want to take any more chances to not get that. I would much rather have a 50-50 split than a 60-40 or 70-30. But you can see we have way more white in this deck than anything else. We can come here and we can see our average mana value is 3.21. So we're pumping some stuff out real quick on turn 3 if you keep the right hand. Always mulligan if you think you should. Just throwing that out there. Average mana value is 3.21 mana curve, right? So we're doing good. We can see we have a couple 9s down here, but a lot of it here is 1, 2, 3, couple of 4s, less 5s. We have what? 1, 2, 3, 6 6s. So pretty quick little deck here. We can come down here and we can see our breakdown of what different creature types we have, how many different card types we have, all that kind of stuff. And then we can look at the extras and you can add in what tokens you have just in this setting here. But that's it. That is Hofri Ghostforge. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think. And I hope you have a good week, have a good night, have a good day, whatever you're watching this, whenever you're watching this. And we hope to see you on the next Whatnot stream, which will be this Saturday. We're doing a top loader showcase where we're going to be selling a bunch of banger cards for good discounts. Let you auction them off with an opportunity to win a Warhammer 40k pre-con at the end of the night. We hope to see you there. Make sure you check out our Instagram and our Patreon. And we'll catch you on the next one.